Buenas, Shusho. Hello and welcome.
Why are you all looking at me? What else am I supposed to do? I had to plug the computer in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Star Citizen Live, Flight, Light, and Insight. Because I grew up on far too much Dr. Seuss. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee, and if you've never seen Star Citizen Live, don't look at me like that. If you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, it's where we take about an hour out of the end of our week and we hang out with some of our developers. They're usually very busy and trying desperately to get the next patch out the door, and I go by their desk and I'm like, hey, stop doing that important stuff. Come over here and do this instead. And usually they say no. But occasionally, I like to trade on friendships and get people to say yes. And that's why joining us today are four people I'm very proud to call friends. Matt, Steven, Elwin, and Chris. How you doing, guys?
Great.
Very good.
Great.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Welcome to the spaceship. Welcome to the UK. This is your first trip to the new studio.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. How's your trip been so far?
It's been awesome.
Awesome.
Loved it.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Lovely.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Great seeing everybody. The studio's awesome. It's amazing. Bustling. A lot of energy.
Yeah, if only we could show it. We're on the show quite often, and we talk about how great the studio is and everything. We haven't shown a whole lot of it. It's because I had to promise Chris that I would wait until every little aspect of it is done, and then do a nice big kind of reveal. He's a man who wants to build experiences and stuff like that. So it's very. I'm chomping at the bit to do a lot of things that I have waiting in the bit.
He's got to do one of those Chris Roberts sections where he actually goes around and shows everything, and then people can meme it.
Oh yeah, or he's not ready.
Me está comentando de nada, de qué tal les ha parecido el estudio y tal, y de que de momento que no van a enseñar nada del estudio hasta que esté completado, que quiero ver es una persona que le gusta mostrar experiencias o trabajar las experiencias y tal, y entonces que cuando esté el estudio más acabado, más avanzado, o sea, que esté todo en su sitio, que sí que nos harán una revelación a través de un insight o de lo que sea, ¿no? De lo que toque.
Work that's being done, the patches. This isn't one of those. This isn't going to be that week. Today we are goofing off. We are hanging out. We are getting to know some of our friends, some folks who have been here for a very long time and stuff. And I just want a chance to hang out and catch up because we haven't talked much in the week. This is your last day here. So let's start off with just some introductions because there's got to be some people in there that are like, I don't know who the heck any of these are. Chris, I think you're the longest tenured person here, so I'm going to start with you.
So,
who are you and what do you do for Star Citizen?
well, I'm Chris Smith. I'm a ship artist for Star Citizen, lead ship artist. I've been with the company, for about 10 years now, or 10 years, a little bit over 10 years now, I suppose.
Está diciendo que se llama Chris, que está trabajando como artista de naves y lleva 10 años trabajando como artista de naves para la compañía Star Citizen.
Installation, and Corsair, most recently.
Hace trabajos la Constellation y más recientemente la Corsair, por ejemplo.
Very first ship artist?
Not the very first ship artist, but the first ship artist in the Austin studio. Yeah.
Dice que no es el primer artista que tiene CIG, pero que es el primer artista que tuvo el estudio de Austin.
So the CIG
Correct.
employee. It was you and Olivier.
Yeah, well, he was actually concept, look dev. Mark Skelton was the art director, and then just me. I was the lone ship artist in the U.S. actually. Yeah.
And your first ship was the original 300.
Correct, the original 300.
Before we threw it out and did it better.
Que dice que su primera nave fue la 300 original.
I'm like, I hope to God he's the one who redid it, or I'm going to sound like a... Okay, so 300. And besides the 300, besides the Corsair, you called out other ships you've worked on. You helped with at least the exterior of the original Constellation Phoenix, or the Constellation series, rather. What other ships?
The Scout, God.
The Cartual?
The Hornet, yeah, actually did
Yeah.
the Hornet series. I redid the Hornet too at one point.
Esta es la persona que hizo la Hornet y que hizo la F7A. Es la persona que ha diseñado la F7A, por ejemplo.
What does this say about you as an artist?
It's because we evolve as, our techniques evolve and our pipeline and our, processes. So
And
yeah,
their design needs.
we just get better and better. That's why.
Yeah.
And then, Matt, were you here before Elwin? Or?
Yep.
Yeah, just
you
a
were.
little bit before. Yeah.
Right, so Matt, who are you? What do you do?
Matt Intrieri. I am lead ship tech art, and I work with the U.S. and U.K. teams. All the ships kind of flow to my little team where we do tech animation as well, tools, pipeline, and destruction, and all those good things like shields, SDF shields, gravity. I mean, I worry about a lot of things, optimization, and yeah, just that's about it. That's all.
Getting
Not
things
much.
to work.
Not much. Yeah, troubleshooting. I'm kind of the first defense before going to engineers. So people come to me with an issue, try to work it out, and if I can't do it, then we go bug an engineer.
Now, Matt may not remember this.
Está diciendo Matt que es la primera persona encargada en resolver. Es la primera línea de defensa ante problemas con las naves. Que si algo no se resuelve pasando por él y por su equipo, supongo, pues lo llevan a tema de ingeniería y demás. O sea, ingeniería supongo que se refiere al tema de motor o tema de, bueno, pues gente que está haciendo otro tipo de cosas más hartas, ¿no?
It's one of the few segments we ever put together that we never finished, we never aired. There were some technical problems, absolutely nothing on your part. It's somebody forgot to turn the mics on when we recorded and did a whole interview with no audio. So wait.
Was that what happened?
That was what happened. That's why it never aired. We got in there. It's like,
See, I thought I just embarrassed myself.
No. It was like, why
why
does the sound sound so bad? It's like, all we have is camera audio. And I'm like, yeah. So I messed that up terribly.
Oh my
so,
God.
So because one of the very few things we ever filmed and never got to air. So tell people now, without taking up the length of an entire segment, what does a tech artist actually do?
Well, it's a wide variety of things. Yeah, it's just there's a lot. If you go to each department, there's a tech artist embedded in there, and so we just facilitate. I don't know. Yeah, there's
Facilitate functionality.
The link between art and tech, basically.
Someone has to put the
Hence the name.
Right.
Has to
I
put
do
the
a lot of
string in
tech.
the puppet.
I
That's
do a
what
lot
he
of
does.
rigging right now. I do a lot of rigging. We do the landing gear physics. We balance that out. I spend a lot of time on player friction with the ships, so getting in and out of the ships is.
I spent a lot of time with player friction.
Yeah, really.
Are we talking about the same thing?
I don't know. Are we?
Different kind of
I
friction.
don't know. Ships exploding randomly. I worry about these things. Getting trolleys up and down.
Claro, es lo que está comentando, ¿no? Que como artista de tecnología, bueno, artista técnico más bien, lo que se dedica pues a revisar pues la fricción de los personajes con las naves, que está haciendo ahora, que las naves exploten por la cara, que el tren de aterrizaje se alinee bien. Es como una especie de puente entre lo que es la tecnología disponible y los artistas, ¿no?
Yeah,
That works.
it's like
Really
that.
hard thing to describe. This is why we were doing a story on it. And I wish it worked.
Yeah.
We'll come back. We'll do it again.
Well, that'd be great.
With
That'd be
audio.
great. Yeah.
And Elwin,
Yeah.
who are you and what do you do?
I'm Elwin Batchelor, and I'm the vehicle art director in the U.S. So I manage the Austin ship team and the LA ship art team as well.
And before being the vehicle art director, you were a vehicle artist. You made many ships.
Yeah, I was actually out. So Chris was the first one on ATX. I was the first ship artist, I believe, in LA. There were other artists working on ships, but they were on the concept.
Me está diciendo pues este señor que fue el primer artista en el estudio de Los Ángeles y que ahora mismo pues es el director de arte de vehículos tanto de Los Ángeles como de Austin.
The original Legacy Connie that eventually got redone as well. I think the second one was the M50, and then from then on, I think I've touched, I don't know, it must be like 50 ships at this point, bits and pieces. The last big one we just came off of, actually the whole team was on it, was the Corsair. And yeah, I'm slowly going to be backing away from doing that kind of cool stuff.
As you grow into your role as the U.S. Vehicle Art Director.
Yeah, so yeah,
I'll keep
Chris
I'll
will have
keep
to,
Holly
Chris will
pushing.
have to just keep going.
Now, it was recent. It was. We won't talk too much about the summit that's going on right now, but it was recently revealed on Twitter. Shout out to Daniel that we are building a ship team in Montreal, and so like that. Will you be overseeing art direction for that team as well?
We will be, yes, I'll be assisting with part of that. I mean, we're closer in time zone than the UK, so we'll
Parece que acaban de anunciar en Twitter hace poco, con la reunión que acaban de tener con el equipo de naves, que van a hacer un equipo en Montreal.
Been here, it's like 7 years. That's not very long.
We've all been here longer than you.
Yeah. So yeah, and I work on design. I design the ships, do concept briefs, and then I work with the art team to implement them, put them into the game, get them flying, make sure that the backers can actually use them and interact with them and that kind of thing.
And for people who haven't watched the 60 or 70 segments and shows we've done on vehicle stuff and the design, when you say design, you are not talking about design in a traditional artistic sense. People tend to assume that means a pencil drawing or like an architectural sketch. You do tech design, systems design.
Systems design.
So what is that role with regards to ships?
Like it starts out with us like kind of designing what a ship would be and what we want it to be, and then we work with art to figure out what's it going to look like and how that's going to function in our game. And then once it gets out of concept, we actually work in white box and we like kind of block out everything that we want it to do, and we figure out all of the interactions and all of the systems and everything that's going to like be in the ship at the end. And then we go back to art and be like, hey, this is what we want, and then they build it all out. And hopefully, at the end, we're like, yeah, that's what we wanted.
Hopefully.
Part of that is identifying new features that this ship does something that we've never done before, and so that will branch off. And sometimes I'll work with like an engineer on that, and that kind of thing. Or Stephen will work.
It's a lot of designing.
We also identify like what new features we might need for a ship, and then we'll go to the engineer that would be in charge of that and be like, hey, we want this.
Están explicando un poquito el proceso de naves, que yo creo que ya los que llevamos un tiempo por aquí sabemos de qué va, ¿no? De que simplemente, pues bueno, pues evalúan el arte, pues una vez está el arte, pues van a Whitebox, miran las tecnologías, las características que pueden necesitar y hablan con los equipos que necesiten para implementarlas o si tienen que resolver algo.
And then we refine it throughout the process.
But you're the reason this other ship sucks.
Sucking is not a goal.
Right.
It's my fault, yes.
Send your letter to Steve Hosmer, 12322 Exposition Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90064.
I think the final say is in the balance team.
But more than ship sucking, at what point in the conversation do you decide it punches above its weight class?
That's just at the very start. We always know it's going to punch above its weight class, and we just assume that's going to be what it is, and we just put it right at the top of the design.
Have you ever made a ship that just punches at its weight class?
I think maybe one of them.
The Arrow.
I think it was the Mantis.
We're going to start that's going to start a Reddit thread.
I worked on that one.
Yeah, you did.
Now, Chris and Owen, I want to talk about. I'm always curious about.
Es verdad, si no recuerdo mal, Chris fue también la persona que diseñó la Mantis. Creo que sí. Yo quiero recordar que sí. Está comentando de que, bueno, de que cuando deciden que una nave pues está por encima de su categoría, es decir, que es superior en su categoría. Pues dice que lo deciden ya desde el primer momento de hacerla, que ya desde el primer momento saben que esa nave pues va a petarlo en la categoría en la que está.
So I always wanted to get into games, but I'm from New York, so the games industry in New York is very, very small. So at the time that I was getting close to graduating college, there weren't really that many options for me there. So I actually started doing web design work. And at a certain point, I think I got a call from one of the people that I went to college with who had graduated a year before me. And he just remembered my work. And they were looking for someone to fill in a 3D position, like an associate 3D position. So they gave me a call, and I basically left my highly paying graphic design job to go get paid literally less than half of what I was getting paid there, to go and do indie game work basically at a tiny studio with, I think it was like 5 or 6 people or something like that.
Why?
Because
Games.
because it's games. It's what I've always wanted to do. So I love games. Been playing games since I could afford to buy them, and I basically tried to study everything that I needed to jump into them. So
How about you, Chris?
Well, I was sort of just
Me está comentando la historia del tipo, curiosa, ¿no? Que el tipo pues estuvo estudiando en Nueva York y tal, y que siempre, desde siempre quiso meterse en videojuegos y tal, y cuando pues estuvo en el instituto, creo que es, o... College puede ser universidad, ya no sé cómo va y no me acuerdo ahora mismo, pero vamos. Que el tipo tenía un curro de haciendo webs y tal, se metía a hacer webs y decidió cobrar la mitad de sueldo porque lo llamó un colega para trabajar en un estudio más pequeño de videojuegos y a partir de ahí empezó su carrera en la industria de los videojuegos.
full and steady, and
So you picked
I know
video
games.
games.
But-
Games to study.
I was like, hey, video games is right down my style. You know, like just sort of, you know, I thought it would just be like an awesome gig, and went to Artist Institute in Dallas, did associates there 2 years, and went straight into the industry and worked for 3D Realms on Duke Nukem Forever. That was my first gig.
Oh, when's that come out?
It's already out, but it eventually did come out.
I didn't realize you grew up in Germany. You Army brat?
Yes, yeah. I'm born in the States in Oklahoma, but I moved there when I was 7.
No.
Mom German, dad
Yeah.
American.
Cool. It just never came up. I didn't realize we had that in common. Matt and Steve, not on the art side. Well, a bit on tech art. You know, it's like this. How did you fall into this?
I was intending to go into film post-production, I was a big Industrial Light and Magic fanboy. Like, I just love what they were doing with Star Wars, and I ate up all that kind of stuff, the model making and things. And then, so I was studying in San Francisco, and I got an opportunity to have a job for doing children's software for Lucas, and I was like, oh, I'll take it. And then I was in games, and I just stuck with that, and that's
What was the first game you worked on?
the Gungan Frontier. It was a sim Earth thing with little creatures going in around the swamp.
Oh yeah, I think we all know about the Gungan Frontier.
On Naboo.
It's clearly one of the most popular Star Wars games ever.
It really was. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I worked on that, and Droid Works, and yeah.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, that one won an award. I came in. Actually, I can't take credit for that. That was not me. That was I came in right when that was being released. So I helped test, I guess.
Get your name in the credits?
Probably not. No, I don't think I did.
How about you, Hosmer?
Yeah, I guess.
Ya está comentando este tipo, ¿no? Que el Matt que estuvo trabajando empezó su carrera en los videojuegos pues por querer dedicarse al cine y demás y todo esto, el tema de Star Wars y demás, que le llamaba como a muchos a los que están en el estudio, yo creo, ¿no? Ciencia ficción y demás, eso es lo que los atrae. Y el tipo dice que empezó trabajando para un juego de Star Wars que se llama Gungans o algo así que se llama. No tengo ni idea de qué va el juego este. The Gungan Frontier. Es esto de aquí, vamos a ver si lo veo. Buah, flipas. Bueno, pues este era el juego, en teoría, de Gun of Frontier. Y dice que el pavo que tampoco que se le puede dar mucho crédito por esto porque tampoco se dedicó mucho o sea, que entró justo para testearlo y tal, que ni siquiera cree que esté los créditos. Pero aquí empezó sus andaduras.
Lead producers like Ricky
Casi
Gervais
igual
got
que
a
el Star
start
Citizen.
in
Casi igual que el Star Citizen, sí.
EKD got a start there. Tyler Wicken, our director of community, got a start in QA. It's a very popular entry point into the industry because it is a like you said, it requires very little prior experience. It values deductive reasoning and being able to keep your thoughts straight, recognizing why this does this versus something else, and you can learn almost every other discipline because everything in video games requires a QA of some point. So you can move around between disciplines and learn a little bit of graphics and a little bit of design, and a little bit of tech art, and so until you find a place that interests you and everything, then you learn more, and it's a great place to go from there.
Yeah.
This is a recruiting video, by the way. Shout out to Lucas Genver and our talent acquisition team. I did it, Lucas. I did it. Chris and Owen, I want, as far as coming to CIG, you have a bit of a shared origin story here. Chris, you were one of the judges on the only reality TV show that we've done here at CIG, The Next Great Starship. I know what it is, but I want to hear what your description. What is the next great? What was the next great starship?
Well, I mean, it was like it was a recruiting tool. There you go. I mean, yeah, essentially it was a game show of some sort where we had contestants built out. Initially it was a weapon, and then they moved on. People got eliminated, and then other people moved on. And we had like a judge panel. I was part of it, along with Chris and Mark Skeleton, Chris Roberts, Mark Skeleton, Sean Tracy.
Está contando una historia que no tengo muy claro de qué es, de que dice de Next Great Ship. Buah, pero esto fue hace 1000 años. O sea, 200 equipos entraron en la competición en diciembre, tal. Esto es como una herramienta de reclutamiento. Fua, mirar, Crytek, chavales. Joder, puto micro que lo tienen ellos mal. Está aquí Crytek, imaginaros, Crytek, AMD. YouTube. Qué locura,
But he kind of won the next great starship. It's like you may not have gotten the limited prize at the end of the thing, but I mean, you're here now.
Claro, que empezaban haciendo armas y tal, y luego pues había gente que estaba eliminada, ¿no? Y como que la gente ganadora pues es la gente que pues supongo que contrataron, ¿no?
It's like it was a secret recruiting tool to find talent and stuff like that.
Está diciendo que era una herramienta secreta de reclutamiento que utilizaron en la empresa.
To different reporting companies, the talent acquisition people was like, hey, have you done something with Tools Team? I'm like, yes, I have actually, and here's the Tools Team. They send it out to Tools Team people that they're looking to recruit and stuff like that.
But it was also, it was great to get the fans engaged in our process early on, and sort of, I mean, people were already excited about our, the game and the vision and everything. But once we did that, we got them involved in everything. That kind of like gave it another boost, I think.
Yeah.
Frogboy Rat in Twitch chat says, please announce a ship. Boy, are you watching the wrong show. Have we ever announced a ship on SCL? Is that what we've never announced. There's a salvage ship coming in 318 called the Vulture.
Vulture, I worked on it. You worked on it.
Announced
With
that
the
ship.
With
Está diciendo, por favor, anunciar una nave y tal. Mira, tienes una nave de chatarra que se llama la Vulture que viene la 318.
CIG. Chris, backtrack. You said you've been here for 10 years. That is pretty much the sum total of time the company has existed. It's how did you get involved with this?
Well, I worked with in Austin with a previous company. It's called Lightbox, and right before CIG started up, or Eric Peterson started up the Austin studio, right before. That happened. So we all got hired. They needed a ship. I was already a hard surface artist for that game, and then so it's like, hey, you want to work on spaceships over here? I'm like, and then not too long before that, I saw the trailer, the Star Citizen trailer, Chris Roberts and everything, and we were kind of working on at the other company. We were starting working on some like space game, but I was like, I wasn't like too excited about it. It wasn't that great, but when I saw that trailer, I was like,
Es que tengo que mirar, es que me acabo de quedar todo loco porque estaba buscando. Luego lo miramos.
yeah, hell yeah.
How'd you come aboard, Matt?
I was contacted by SIG, and so I just kind of came in. So I don't know what I was doing at that exact moment. I think I was actually looking for work, and they reached out, and I came in.
Because you were working on the big Gungan games.
Talked to Chris. Yeah, they were pretty successful, but not, we didn't do very many sequels to that. But and then it was good. I met Chris and talked about the vision and everything, and it was very exciting. Very exciting. Back then, the vision was a little smaller. It was before we hit that milestone in fundraising where we kind of like opened it up a little more. But it was still a kind of a daunting proposition because I was actually the only tech artist at the time. So I was doing tools I was thinking a lot about, ships, but there was characters, and we hired another tech artist to work on characters. So I kind of I kind of went towards my love, which is more like the ships. And
Chris was the first ship artist in Austin. Owen, the first ship artist in LA. You, the first tech artist in LA. Hosmer, you showed up on a tour and never went home.
Yeah.
What was your? How did you get?
Está comentando el Matt que entró ante el proyecto cuando el proyecto pues todavía no era tan grande, pero ya por aquel entonces la propuesta le sedujo. Y que era el único artista técnico de la compañía, ¿no? Que entró antes de que se cumplieran los objetivos del Kickstarter.
And we can you can get on it and I can fly it and you can do one of the turrets. I'm like, that sounds really cool. And then I looked up the company and I'm like, there was a job posting. So I applied and I got interviewed and I came over here.
Well, that's about all we have time for. I mean, at this point, I told you it was going to go by fast. The show is going to be a little shorter than normal. You guys are here on a summit. You guys are here for a big ship and vehicle summit.
Está comentando Escolando que esto va a ser un poco... O sea, bueno, ya te lo entero pues echando un apply de trabajo y tal. Pero está hablando de que el show va a ser un poquito más corto porque están haciendo reuniones.
Or you want to share with the community something that'll get me in trouble? I don't know. Whatever you feel like.
I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, get you in trouble. Like,
You want me to get you in trouble?
I'm working on the whole C.
Okay, you're working on the whole C.
Whole C.
Yeah.
Just I mean, it's been really cool. It's a culmination of a lot of tech building up over time. It's like a level that.
Dice que está trabajando en la Hull C este señor ahora mismo.
It's a walkway. It's got all these rings and undulates and trying to make it an experience. So when you stand inside it just transforms around you, and working with the audio team trying to hook up audio on the ring.
Está diciendo de que los anillos y todo eso que comunican los pasillos, los corredores, que se transforme cuando una persona esté dentro, que el audio y todo esto, que están trabajando con el equipo de audio para que quede todo como que tengas la sensación de que todo se expande, se contrae dentro cuando estás dentro de la nave, ¿no? De la Hull C.
Okay.
So that's previously announced, but beyond that, the ship teams both in the UK and the US are working on some really cool ships, which I can't really say.
There's
too
that
much
one
about,
really
but
cool ship.
There's
the one that
there's
does the
more
thing
than
and
one.
does the thing. It's really cool.
There's more than one. So
I really
we're doing
like
some
it.
really cool.
Really excited
new,
about that.
Yeah, we're doing some really cool new things we haven't done before. So that's going to be exciting.
I can't say
terrible
what
El equipo de naves está diciendo también de Los Ángeles que están haciendo naves que nunca se han hecho antes lo que han hecho hasta ahora y que están bastante entusiasmados con el tema.
Yeah. So hopefully that comes out this
O sea que están haciendo nuevas naves, ¿no? Ahora mismo. Un conjunto de naves que dice que son espectaculares. A ver cómo son.
The views and opinions of Stephen Hosmer do not represent those of Cloud Imperium Games, Corp. Space Industries, or its subsidiaries.
I don't know when. You got to get a producer in here to actually figure out when things are coming out.
We weren't actually supposed to mention the. Okay, yeah, so that's one. There we go. All right. Stephen, Matt, Ellen, Chris, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
Get
you.
out. We're going to play a video real quick, and when we come back, we'll have members from the Light Summit on the show. Stay tuned.
Do you hunger for the challenge? Pitted against nature, you will need discipline, determination, and the courage to never give up. Looks like you need a beer mate.
Cosmonaut is the premier online magazine for Star Citizen, packed full of ship reviews, outfitting guides, upcoming events, org interviews, current affairs, history, and more. Cosmonaut is your comprehensive guide to all aspects of life among the stars. Our talented team of writers, editors, designers, photographers, and artists are all passionate pilots and aim to bring you stellar images, incisive articles, and incredible design. Season 1 of Cosmonaut is available for download now. Head to www.cosmonautmagazine.com to get all 12 issues completely free.
Oh, well, now you're trapped over there. Now you can't. Now you can't go. No, they not in this shot. You can probably see you in the other shot. So yeah, so Chris and Matt decided to hang out anyway. So we are going to have to get you back to your thing in a bit. Joining us on the show. No, before we do that. Remember, I wanted to take a moment to talk about some of the cool crap that's here in the thing. I want to point out these two lovely creations right here. Do we have my zoom in camera? Look at this guy. This is a gorgeous pirate gladius made by Star Citizen Policus. Here's a pirate gladius. Look how slick that is. These are not one of the JRDF models like these other ones are. These were handmade by Policus. And then here is I think one of the executive edition, the civilian F8 Lightnings. Very cool, very cool. Yeah, he got better with the stands as he went on. So yeah, Policus, a Star Citizen named Policus. Some great work. Thank you so much. All right. I was really afraid I was going to knock them over. And joining us on the show now are members from the Frankfurt and Montreal.
Está diciendo de que lo que tienen ahí que no son que no son naves, no son naves de JF Design, que son hechas de un usuario particular, que se llama Polacus o algo así.
You are the senior lead light. Who are you and what do you do?
I'm Chris Campbell. I am now the assistant art director for lighting for Star Citizen.
Everybody getting promoted. Love to see it. So you're the assistant art director for lighting.
Art director for lighting, yeah.
And what does the assistant art director for lighting do now?
Well, I mean, you know Ian, you've met him before. He's a busy guy. He's got he's a big team now, so he basically needed some underlings to kind of help take certain parts of the art pipeline and feed that direction through
Que
to.
está diciendo Ian, el que vimos el otro día, pues dice que nos estuvo enseñando el tema de los edificios y tal. Dice que ahora es un hombre bastante ocupado y que necesitan pues otra persona que se encargue de ciertas partes del equipo. Pues en este caso él se encarga de el tema de luces y demás. Creo que algo ha dicho de esto.
Lighting that we can for each location that we're working on.
Cool. And you're over here from the team in Frankfurt.
Yeah, I'm normally based in Frankfurt. Yeah.
Alice, you're here from Montreal. Tell us.
Ah, pero que se las has hecho tú, Polacus. Otro rollo, ¿eh? Ah, pues está chula la F8, ¿eh? Ojo.
How you like it so far?
I love it here.
Did you have any idea you would be doing this today?
Not at all.
You said your whole name. I was really going to try to avoid it. I was like, I switched the first names just so I didn't have to try to do the last name because I'm stupid American and can't pronounce anything. So what is it that you do?
Well, I'm a junior lighting artist. So basically, when we get like a new mandate or a new location, I get information from Ian and also from Lars and Chris, and then we start together, maybe with one of the other lighting artists working on the various locations to kind of bring them to life with the concepts and kind of the direction that we got.
Okay. And Lars?
Yeah, Lars Hofrichter. So I recently also, after Chris became an assistant art director, I now am a lead lighting artist at Turbulent with Alice. And yeah, before that, I think.
¿Cuánto te ha llevado a hacer las Polacus, las maquetas, más o menos, en tiempo? Por curiosidad.
Long enough to know that we basically share everything with you about 5 minutes after it's decided. We bring you along for the ride. So when you hear that, we're building a ship team in Montreal, or expanding out a lighting team, like this is some relatively new, very fresh, very raw stuff. So yeah. So welcome. What have you, if anything, have you worked on so far here?
You mean like since we're in Manchester? Or you mean
no, since joining the team at CIG, or Turbulent.
So I mean, I was the first lighting artist at Turbulent when 2 years ago, and yeah, in the beginning I was basically responsible for every lighting or for every mandate that Montreal was working on. So I did work on all the hospitals. I worked on the derelict reclaimer, the settlement, yeah, the Dama settlement. Also recently worked on the racetrack.
Dice que está trabajando en las cosas que han hecho recientemente, los racetracks, el asentamiento de Daymar, también ha trabajado en la Reclaimer, cositas así.
Remake of the Lorville Skyline.
The Lorville Skyline.
Estos chavales son chavales de luces, por lo visto, de iluminación.
The roadmap roundup on Wednesday is now being moved into the Q1 2023 patch, the what we're calling 319 and stuff. So yeah, so everybody was like, "Oh, he said it's moving faster," and I'm like, just wait. And like, here it is. Let's hope it actually pans out, or I'm gonna look like a jerk. And what have you worked on, Alice?
Well, a lot of the same stuff. I'm working on the Lorville Skyline right now, the new one. And I've also worked on the recent racetracks that we've been working on, have been announced and stuff. Before that, a lot of stuff.
Está nerviosilla la chica, macho. Está temblándole las manos. Está diciendo que está trabajando en el tema de las carreras también y de los, bueno, lo mismo que han dicho los demás, ¿no? Carreras, los outputs nuevos, etcétera.
With other stuff and ended up dropping out at the last minute. And about less than 10 minutes later, I get a message where it goes, "Hey, we're here visiting. We just want to see the spaceship." And I came up like, "You want to see the spaceship?" "Yeah." I'm gonna put you on the show. So when I just.
So we're basically your sloppy seconds.
Don't laugh and encourage him. I don't need that from you. So that threw me. So Chris, all in all, besides the Laurelville skyline, what are your folks working on these days?
I mean, it's a lot of unreleased stuff. We're working towards the Pyro system, and there's a lot of things that we want to do in the Pyro system. A lot of really big new location archetypes, like the colonialism outposts, space stations, UGFs, that kind of stuff. So we're just kind of in various stages of production with those, just trying to stay in step with the rest of the environment teams. They're pushing ahead faster than we can keep up with, so we're just trying to hang in there. Yeah.
You hiring?
I don't know, actually. I don't.
¿Se puedo poner aquí? Sí, sí, puedes ponerlo, claro.
No, 2 weeks. So I think that's gonna put us in a good spot for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but they haven't started yet.
They haven't started yet.
All right.
There's still time.
So yeah, I want you to look at this camera here and tell this person what they need to know before they show up.
Send me your ArtStation page.
Wait, I thought they've already got the job. What do you need the art?
Oh, you mean the new starter?
The new starter, yeah.
Oh, what does he need to know? I hope you like bratwurst.
So they're starting in Frankfurt.
They're starting with me in Frankfurt. Yeah.
De todas formas, si no, mejorasla otra vez de aquí, mira. Hazla otra vez del nuestro y ya está, ¿sabes? Porque en realidad aquí en el chat al final se va a perder, ¿sabes? Entonces hazlo otra vez de ahí y listo.
I've still got like 15, 20 minutes of the show, so I'm having an idea. I'm going to try something. Chris, Lars, Alice, thank you so much for letting me turn what was supposed to just be a quick tour of the ship into drafting you into the show. You're free to go. You're free to go. We don't have a transition for this. I'm playing it by ears. I'm going to try something. So yeah. So you go ahead. You guys can take off.
Okay.
Hey, stay with me.
Thanks, man.
So they're going to walk in front of the camera right here. Oh yeah. Don't watch your bike. Yep. There you go. We're off the path. Tom, are you there? Can you adjust the cameras to the guest cameras and point them at what did we learn? And I'm gonna grab something. Hold on. Stay with me. We're gonna see if this works. If this doesn't work, this is why you don't pull a audible in the middle of the show. Hold on.
¿Qué coño va a hacer discolando? Estoy intentando hacer una transición y todo.
This is either going to be good or it's going to get me in trouble. Is this all right? Can you hit this with the camera? Okay. Oh, I need markers. Hold on. I need markers for this. All right. What colors do I have? I got black and I got green. Like this. You see me? Hold on. Am I in there? Hi, everybody. Give me just another minute. That's Tom. You've heard me talk about Tom. That was Tom walking by. He's going to walk by one more time. All right. Switch the camera. All right. He's got to get back to the desk. All right. Oh, am I in the... No, I'll just like this. There we go. Hi. And then if you can, move the monitor to where I can see it. I'm Jared, and this is a new segment that I've decided to just pull out of my head. Disco discusses, disco details, I don't know. If it doesn't work and we never do it again, it won't need a name.
Si no funciona, no necesitará un nombre. Si no funciona, no necesitará un nombre, así no tenemos que mirar cómo se llama. Que no sé qué coño va a hacer.
Talk about something, explain something, go into detail on something that's a bit misunderstood sometimes. And that's called, let's use black. That's called the build system.
El sistema de builds. Vale, esto es interesante.
That's my handwriting.
El sistema de los parches.
The build system is how we make patches. It's where every patch comes from. And every patch, every build, comes from a place that we call game dev. Now, game dev works on, there's a couple different layers. There's a couple different persistent environments to development. So we're going to draw some lines here. Let's do, this, and this, and this, and this. So we're going to call this one game dev. We're going to call this one staging. We're going to call this one release. And we're going to call this one live. Now, these are for persistent environments. These always exist. And 90 some odd % of all of our developers are usually, their work is usually floating around this area or that. Go ahead, Chris. Hi, Tom.
Que está diciendo que
game dev-
la gente que trabaja en desarrollo pues está trabajando en esas áreas que hay.
Code and asset come together. It's like the earth beneath your feet. Everything grows from it, and everything goes back to it when it's done. Staging is a place where assets are developed. That's like one.
Claro, Game Dev es donde el código tal es como la tierra, donde nace todo y todo termina volviendo.
Set of armor, or you're building an outpost or a space station or whatever. You're probably working.
Staging es donde estás, pues donde se hacen recursos. Donde, por ejemplo, si estás haciendo un output, si estás haciendo una armadura, probablemente estés trabajando la parte de staging.
These assets are all colliding and being checked in and checked out. So you don't want to work in game dev if you don't absolutely have to. So staging is this kind of level where the artists can kind of do their thing and maintain.
Staging es donde pueden hacer sus movidas los artistas, ¿no?
Stuff goes. It kind of elevates. It's another gate. If staging is more stable than game dev, then release is one more stable than staging. It's where we start to put things that are getting ready to go out into release. This is a bit simplified. There's also like main, there's some other things. We're not going to go into every single one in case.
Dice que esta tabla está un poco simplificada, que releases, por ejemplo, que no se va a meter en eso ahora, pero que releases donde están preparando para hacer un go de las cosas, ¿no?
Or whatever's on the live servers right now. So we can mess around with something that is just like.
Y live es un espejo interno de lo que tenemos ahora en el live, en el cual pueden andar toqueteando por ahí cosas.
Now, if all the assets, most of the assets in the game are being developed in staging, the question is begged: where's all the code? Where do all the features get developed? So features. This is all going to make sense why I'm doing this at the end, I hope. So features are developed in what are called feature streams. So we're going to do a couple different feature streams here. And they all branch off of game dev at some point. So let's say this one is cargo, C-A-R-G, I missed a letter, salvage, and flight. These are just three that I'm picking up and coming to mind right now. There are dozens and dozens of feature streams. Squadron 42 is essentially just an enormous feature stream. But everything from persistent entity streaming to server meshing, all these things, they're all feature streams. And this is where they work. Now, let's see what colors. I'm going to use green and blue for this. Now, what happens through the course of development is that while they're working in these other environments, occasionally they check things in. So cargo will be like, that thing works, we really like that, so we'll check that in up to game dev. Can we zoom in on the other? Can you do the same one? Is that going to work? Okay. So that'll zoom in. And then flight will check something in. And say salvage will check something in. And these things will go to game dev. But they will also pull things down. Like say salvage had something, was working on something, developed something, and in a meeting, the cargo guys heard about it and says, oh, we really want that. So they will pull down as well. And that'll pull down from there, and that'll pull down from there. These are just random. They happen at different times, in different places, based on how we think a thing is working, whether we think it's worth checking in, whether we like it. It all goes back and forth. So they're separate, but still in communication. It's not like a big open floodgate. It's little tiny, yeah, just take this, I want to take this file and not take this file. It's what we call check-ins and stuff. So everybody is sending things back and forth. As you might imagine, if you can extrapolate this down to about 40, 50, 60 different streams, game dev can be pretty crazy. Game dev has got all this stuff checking in. It gets even worse, or better, if you like game development like I do. Staging content is also doing the same thing. Staging content is checking things in periodically and sending things down to game dev. And then
Claro, lo que está diciendo es que si por ejemplo tenemos cargos salvage flight y tal, que hay cosas que se van moviendo, ¿no?
also pull things up. Whoop. I am not an artist.
Está diciendo de cómo funcionaría lo que es los estados de juego, ¿no? Los estados del desarrollo. Recordad que dijo que Game Dev era de parte de código, staging era pues el hacer una armadura, el hacer tal, el release lo que estaría listo para liberarse y el live lo que sería pues el tema del espejo de lo que es la realidad que tienen para poder juguetear con ella. Entonces, lo que nos está diciendo es que aquí pues a la hora de desarrollo y de código y de tal y de que se están haciendo una cosa y luego volver a código y demás, o sea que en el desarrollo del videojuego cuando están haciendo algo, como por ejemplo cargo o salvage, como el vuelo, pues que se van comunicando entre ellos las diferentes cosas, ¿no? Los diferentes hilos los diferentes streams de producción, hilos de producción que le llaman. Y que todavía se complica más, pues hay cosas de staging que todavía llaman para abajo y cosas que suben para arriba, supongo de cosas que van haciendo nuevas o...
Game dev called stabilization. I'll just write stab, because that's what we want to do to ourselves during this. Now, stabilization is basically where we take all of this stuff that's colliding in game dev and try to stabilize it as much as possible. We also do a thing called exclude. That's where some of the things that have been checked in are not anywhere near done. They're not supposed to be in the next patch or even the patch after. That's where staggered development comes from. Like you're working on a thing, you know that thing's not going to be in there for another patch or two, but you still got to do check-ins because everybody else is looking for your stuff and stuff like this. So the exclusion process is how it's like, okay, that stuff's not supposed to be ready till the next quarter, so we start excluding that. Stabilizes the stuff that's supposed to be there, try to make sure that that works, and then, yeah, it's basically this giant, crazy period where when you're wondering when we're going to branch and you're wondering when we're going to go to Evocati and stuff like that, it's usually because we are in this phase right here. When we get that to a point where it's like, yeah, all right, you know, nothing's perfect. It's not perfect yet, but we feel like we've figured out our exclusions and we got the things in that we expect to be in. We create a branch, and that we're going to do that up there. And I'm going to tell the story of last year here. So we'll do 317x. So we create a branch called 317x, and 317x now becomes this pipe. It's taking the content that's being checked into game dev, it's bringing it back up into staging, because some of this stuff has never been in staging, and you work on it a bit in staging and make sure it kind of works, it kind of fits, and the most egregious bugs are gone. Then it moves up to release. These are gates, so...
Claro, está diciendo de que aquí tienen una parte que pone Stabex, que sería pues la parte de estabilización y la parte de exclusión, o sea, de cosas que creen que van a venir para el siguiente parche y de cosas que no. Que este es el debate que se hace antes de sacar lo que sería una liberación de parche, un branch que le llaman, ¿no? Que sería pues la 317, la 317X, la 317, la 318, etcétera, ¿no? Entonces lo que está diciendo es que aquí tiene que tener una marca, ¿no? O sea, una vez hacen esta discursión es cuando ponen el lanzamiento de la marca de la 317, ¿no? Por ejemplo, en este caso, o de la 318, y lo que hacen es, pues empiezan a subir todas las cosas de Game Dev a staging y luego release. Empiezan a subir, ¿no? Hasta que llegan a la parte de live, asegurándose pues que las cosas funcionan.
A patch 317.0. Is that readable? Is that legible on the zoom in? More or less. Okay, so 317.0, and that's eventually what goes to Evocati, to PTU, to then eventually to live. Now, what happens often is you'll have point patches. We did a 317.1 and a 317.2, and we won't go up any higher than that because I think that's as high as my zoom in goes. Is that as high as my zoom in goes? Yeah, I can't really go any higher than that, can I? All right. That's enough to tell the story anyway. So the common perception is that a point patch is somehow a lesser patch. It won't have as much information, or won't have as much code, or won't have as much content as the primary 0.0 patch. Technically, procedurally, mechanically, there's no reason for that whatsoever. That is a planning and an execution thing. We intend for 4 patches to go out a year when the realities of game dev allow for it. And we have designated that each one of those quarterly patches will be a 0.0, and we throw as much stuff into that one as possible. If I remember correctly, last year in 3.17.1, that was right before Fleet Week, I think. So it had the convention halls, and it had the Scorpius and stuff like that. I could be wrong. Gosh, it was a year ago. If I'm wrong, roast me in effigy on in the comments. Now, what would normally happen at this point is after you've put the patch out, your primary patch out, and you've utilized the point patches to bug fix and add little things here. Eventually, you come back. Now, while this has been going on, remember, each one of these layers is just a layer of safety and security so our developers can work. Because while it's been going on, these guys have still been checking in. These guys have all been checking stuff in. The whole time, because work doesn't stop. That's staggered development. These guys are up here, these guys are still checking in. And they're all adding stuff to game dev while you're up here, while other people are up here working in a relatively safe environment trying to get the patch out. So it means that before we go to the next patch, the next quarterly patch, which would be 3.18x, we're going to need another stab.
Claro, lo que está diciendo es que para que le cambie nomenclatura de 3.17 a 3.18, pues que tiene que haber un proceso de las diferentes capas de seguridad que hay para el desarrollo, que sería Game Dev, Staging, Release, Live. Tiene que pasar por todo. Entonces, una vez están arriba, solo se considera 3.17. Si tienen que hacer otra vez desde cero, desde abajo, mientras además pone estas flechas por aquí, porque los equipos, mientras la 3.17 está ocurriendo, se está librando, hay otros equipos que siguen alimentando lo que es el desarrollo del juego, ¿no? La parte de Game Dev. Y entonces, pues, tienen que volver a repetir el proceso de volver bueno, pues a desarrollar el código, juntar las piezas, asegurar de que pueden ir, pues, de que pueden, pues, meter los outputs, que funcionan bien los outputs, que funcionan bien las armaduras, que todo ese tema, ¿no? Incluso meter cosas nuevas y luego, pues, pasarlos otra vez por el proceso de estabilización nuevamente y luego, pues, sacar a 3.18. Digamos que cada vez que hay un parche, que ellos tienen pensado sacar 4 parches al año, pues se hace todo el proceso de ir desde abajo hasta arriba, teniendo en cuenta pues que esto sigue funcionando aunque se esté sacando parche, ¿no?
Because as long as it's down there, nobody else is working on stuff. So it was important last year to get PES into game dev as soon as possible. And eventually they're like, yeah, we're ready. We can put PES in game dev. Now, if all of these other things make for one heck of a gumbo, you've heard us talk about this if you've been watching the programs and hearing us talk. PES really destabilizes the gumbo. So this stabilization period isn't going to be a short one. It's going to be a very, very long and involved one. Now, knowing that, because we've been doing this for a while, last year, what was decided to do is we would take the normal content, instead of not having a patch for months and months and months. That was the idea anyway. This is back in like April, here at April or May for 3.17.1. Instead of going, waiting until 3.18 to do another quarterly patch, we decided, we exercised another way of developing patches, or another way of putting content in the patches. If this is all the highways, we said we could take the surface streets. It's not a perfect analogy, but basically we went to all of these different feature streams and said, we don't have to go back and we don't have to go through this to do another quarterly patch if we continue to work in the 317 branch. So we went through and we took all kinds of stuff. We took derelict reclaimers, derelict outposts, the snake pit, planetary nav mesh, the 8 new rest station spaceships, space stations, the Grimhex Hospital, the new hangars. We took all of this stuff that was supposed to be in the Q2 patch, and we just said instead of taking the highways, we took, I'm sorry, I'm using blue. We said take surface streets and take these individual things and bring them right into 317.2.
Claro, lo que está comentando un poquito es que la parte de estabilización, que es donde se evalúa, donde se debate qué cosas van a salir en el parche, qué cosas no, porque dice que claro, que al final, digamos que la actividad de este tipo de cosas, que como que están comunicadas, que hay un montón de ellas más, y que de alguna manera pues el desarrollo la gente que está trabajando pues se comunica entre sí y se mejoran o se toquetean cosas, en plan yo quiero esta cosa que tienes tú para mi movida también, bueno, pues hemos hecho esta otra para tal y os puede servir, o sea que es en plan que hay bastantes cosas bailando, que hay mucha comunicación y que claro, que en el momento que vino el PES, pues si ya había pues cantidad de cosas a tener en cuenta, cantidad de cambios, digamos que es un desarrollo en ebullición, por así decirlo, ¿no? Entonces, cuando metieron el PES, pues todavía más. Entonces, el periodo de evaluación se tuvo que hacer mucho más largo. Entonces, la solución que pensaron de por qué se llama 317 y 317.5 y demás es por qué se llama así. Bueno, pues porque lo que hicieron fue, en vez de tomaron la decisión de que en vez de para meter cosas nuevas tener que ir todo de vuelta para abajo, no tener que hacer esto y directamente pues meterlo en este branch, ¿no? En lo que sería la 317. En lo que se viene son los hospitales, el tema de reclaimer y demás.
Quality or quantity of work involved. And the reason I bring that up, 2 reasons rather. One, I really respect the quality and quantity of the work that the people that I work with do. And it pains me when I see people treating 317.2 like it was a patch that didn't count. That's me personally. I'm speaking only as myself here. Like they did a lot of really good work in that, and I see stuff where it's like it just gets dismissed because it's got a 0.2 patch. That's me personally. But the more effective reason is because if you read the roadmap roundup that came out on Wednesday, written by the wonderful Jake Bradley of the community team, this is what we're doing again this year. Basically, because of PES, we had PES last year, but now we've got another guy down here called server meshing. And it's going to lead to all the same stuff. Plus, in all this time we've been branched in 318, this regular gumbo has gotten it's built up. It's built up, and it's going to take us a while to get through it. And instead of trying to do it at one time, we're going to utilize the alternate path, the path we've already built with 318, and we're going to continue building into 318 while teams tackle this underneath. So what this allows us to do is it allows us to continue to deliver you the quarterly patch that you want and that we want and everything, while other teams work to stabilize this underneath. It's working smarter, not harder. And yeah, I saw some of the comments and stuff about dismissing the 318.1 or 318.2 or whatever it's going to be, and stuff like this. And they're putting Lorville, they're putting the new Lorville in there, stuff like that. So, and they're still determining what's going to go in. We have to determine what can go. Now that's the big ticket. Not everything can take this route. Some things require too many other dependencies. Salvage and cargo required PES. So we could not take them and do this route earlier. So some things require the dependencies, and some things will have to wait for that next branch. But there's lots of things that folks are working on that don't have to wait. New mining stuff and stuff like that. So there's lots more stuff that we can put in there. So basically, I just thought I didn't know if this had ever been explained before. I couldn't remember. I've been here for 8 years. And if we had explained it before, it's probably changed or evolved in the years. So yeah, this is a little bit about the build system, how it works, and why the point patch mentality is an effect but not a cause. It is generally used to mean small content, small code, small deliverables, but it is not exclusively required to be so. It wasn't for 3.17.2, and we don't intend it to be for the next quarterly patch. Now, again, we still got to figure out what can actually do this stuff, and that's what everybody's working tirelessly on. Jake Ross and Guillaume and all those folks, they're working on that stuff now, and you can keep an eye out on the public roadmap and the roadmap roundup. They're going to tell you, what makes that trip and stuff like that. I can't tell you that. This is all about process. So, yeah, so thank you for indulging me in the first and probably the last Disco Discusses about the build system. I hope it was informative. I hope I didn't anger anybody internally. And if all goes well, I'll see you next week. Next week, speaking of server meshing, ISE is dedicated entirely to the server meshing summit that was going on here last month. We've got Benoit and Roger Gottfried and Chris Bolte.
Ahora os explico lo que está diciendo, ¿no?
All about the new plans for server meshing that are being developed through the summit that was going on here, and it's going to be a multi-part thing. It's one part. The first part's next week, and then we'll check in throughout the quarter on how the summit went. So yeah. So for Star Citizen Live, I'm Jared Huckabee, and thanks for humoring me. Bye.
Sí, señor, deja hablando. Se le ha currado que te cagas. Bueno, esto es una explicación que era necesaria realmente, porque lo que está diciendo aquí, básicamente, ¿vale? Lo que vemos aquí. Esto es cómo funciona lo que es el estudio. O sea, el estudio al completo de CIG. Los estudios al completo de CIG, ¿no? Lo que es cómo se desarrolla el juego. Cómo funcionan internamente. Entonces, lo que nos están comentando es algo muy bueno. Para nosotros, ¿qué es lo que tenemos que tener en claro? Bueno, aquí nos indica que meten el server mesh y tal, ¿no? Que van a meter el server mesh, que por cierto nos van a hablar de esto la semana que viene, ya nos han comentado. Entonces, claro, lo que nosotros tenemos que entender es que ellos la iniciativa que empezaron, que fue con la 3.17.5, la 3.17.patata, lo que quiera llamarle, ¿no? Lo van a hacer con la 3.18, la 3.19 y tal. O sea, que van a cambiar la forma de hacer el desarrollo, en el sentido, a partir de esto, ¿no? Dándose cuenta de que realmente, pues el server mesh, el tiempo de evaluación requerido para ver qué cosas van o qué cosas no en el parche, o si están preparados para sacarlo en lo que es un parche, que va a ser más largo de lo normal, porque al final el server mesh o el PES, pues va a haber, efectivamente, al igual que hay cosas como por ejemplo la chatarra que son dependientes del PES, pues seguramente vaya a haber cosas que sean dependientes del server mesh, como puede ser el Bounty Hunter versión 2, por ejemplo. ¿Sí? Entonces, habrá cosas que, por ejemplo, como las misiones de minería que ha comentado que no serían, o las evoluciones de la minería, que no sería necesario pues tener un server mesh, por ejemplo, para eso, ¿no? Y entonces sí que las podrían meter pues a la 3.18, 3.19, porque sabemos que la 3.19 va a estar construida en el código de la 3.18, que es lo que han decidido. Parece que le van a llamar de otra manera, ¿no? A lo que he comentado también que viene el Orbit y tal para la 3.19, que eso, bueno, eso está en el roadmap. El caso es que lo que vamos a tener es, en el momento que saca la 3.18, van a seguir alimentando el juego. Van a seguir alimentando el juego, a pesar de que tengan que estar... Es decir, el mes va a llevar un montón de tiempo. Entonces, en lugar de no tener un parche otra vez dentro de muchísimo tiempo, pues lo que van a hacer es, a la vez que estamos nosotros jugando y entregándonos ellos contenido para disfrutar en el juego, por otro lado, pues estarán trabajando en ese proceso del server mesh, ¿no? Y pues... Entonces está comentando un poco que si hay cosas que tienen pues demasiadas dependencias, que dependen de demasiadas otras cosas, ¿no? Pues al final, pues evidentemente...
Paint de Discolando, Paint de Herbie, Paint de la Polaris.
Muchas gracias, Zorro. Pues evidentemente es un poquito eso, ¿no? De que no... De que no quieren que estemos en un parón, ¿no? Porque aquí tenemos el cargo, el salvage y el fly, realmente son... Y el vuelo, ¿no? Evidentemente tú para hacer salvage necesitas vuelo, para hacer el salvage necesitas cargo, ¿sí? Entonces, de alguna manera que estas tres producciones, estas líneas de producción se están comunicando constantemente. A su vez también, cuando entra el PES, pues también se están comunicando con el PES. No, con la gente que está trabajando. Estamos hablando de grupos de trabajo, ¿vale? No son líneas y puestas ahí, no. Estamos hablando de grupos de trabajo que son complejos. O sea, no es una cosa no es un fulano ahí contándote con un haba o con una silla. O sea, no. O sea, son cosas complicadas. Entonces, lo que nos está comentando, claro, que si todo esto le sumamos el PES, pues que se ha formado la que se ha formado ahora, que tienen que estar un montón de tiempo, pues que tenemos que estar comiéndonos pues como... Pues llevan 7 meses en esto, ¿no? Llevan 7 meses en esto, en el tema de la 318, y llevamos, pues, bueno, 7 meses ya llevamos 8 meses, ¿no? 8 meses. Y estamos viendo, pues, que tenemos como una PTU que, bueno, pues en principio va a llegar a los 3 meses casi, 2 meses y medio, ¿no? De PTU Wave 1 y Wave 2 ahora también. Este fin de semana parece que querían sacarlo también abierto para todo el mundo. No sabemos si le salen bien los tests, los tests, que es algo que hay que mirar. Humo y más humo, no. Humo es del porro que te has fumado, Biguri, me parece a mí, tío. Si no has estado prestando un mínimo de atención a esto, ese comentario, tío, es del porro que te has fumado, me parece a mí. Hoy hay build. A ver. Upa. Mira, ofendidos al fondo a la derecha, tío. ¿Sabes? Ofendidos al fondo a la derecha. Eso no jodamos, tío. Era lo que me faltaba, por encima. A ver. Eh... A ver. Estamos trabajando actualmente con una nueva build para liberarlo más tarde en el PTU. Esto removerá el uso del arma médica en Amnisticio, lo cual es un detallazo, y corregirá un montón de clases de clientes. Eh... No. No, tío, Xenotren, no, tío. No, Xenotren para el fin de semana, no, tío. Es que a mí no me interesa cómo trabajan, a mí me interesa cómo los anuncios. Pero es que son estimados, tío. Es que son estimados, Biguri. Ese es el tema. Yo qué sé, tío, es que es un comentario que sonó... El comentario que has hecho ha sonado tan fuera de lugar, tío. ¿Sabes? Es que no tiene puto sentido, tío. O sea, es en plan por la puta cara, ¿sabes? No, es por eso, tío, porque te he contestado de esa manera. Porque es más desubicado, tío. Es que no... No, tío. En fin. Eh... Tienes razón, tío. Expulsar temporalmente. Hala. Así interpreto. ¿Qué te parece? Es lo que hay, tío. En mi canal interpreto lo que me sale de los huevos. A ver. Chavales, me voy a tomar un cafecito. Venga ahora. Es que tengo que tomar un café. Porque no... No... Tengo que tomar un café porque es que me he conectado aquí como un vampiro, tío. Y es lo que hay. Voy a tomar un café y venga ahora, chavales. Ujú. Pero con esa carita que no llegamos a la gol. No sé, tío. A ver. Venga, besitos, chicos. Ahora vengo.